All right, here we are, another episode of Iron Sharpens Iron. I'm excited for this one. Special guest on today is my man Bryant, and this is a guy that I have a lot of respect for, a lot of appreciation because he's stuck with it. There were a lot of bumps in the road, which we'll dig into, but the fact that he's here right now on this show is exactly what Iron Sharpens Iron is all about. And to kind of back up, it's the Forged Warrior, right? And so the movement that we've created, it goes beyond getting six-pack abs and getting big biceps. And while that might be something that is created in the process, it is not what the process is all about. The process is about building better men, starting from the inside and going out from there. And so Brian, what's up, brother?
What's happening, Coach?
Happy to have you on, dude.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate the opportunity.
What's good in your world right now?
Everything. It's very few things that aren't.
And you got the beard going. The beard game is looking good.
Yeah.
I like it, man. So cool. Yeah. I mean, this is your show, brother. So kind of kick things off and tell us a little bit more about yourself. Like where are you coming from? And what is it that you do, man?
Well, I mean, you and I, we've been working together for, I don't know, almost a year. So I've been on active duty for the last 10 years. I retired in March of this year. So, and that's pretty much it. Done some schooling and spent the last 10 years on active duty, had a couple combat tours. I ended up getting a medical retirement, which is kind of unexpected. So during the last 2 or 3 years, my world was being kind of shook. I have a 2-year-old. He'll be 3 in November. So I'm a father, pretty new to that. Husband, we've been together for about 4 years. So lots of drastic changes in my life all at once. I've been in and out of therapy and treatment for various things. And so that's kind of, who I am, where I come from. I consider myself to be an athlete, generally speaking, a top performer. I've played football my whole life, soccer. In fact, the last football season I played in was 2016. So pretty active lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were military, and from the story that you told me and the rest of the guys when we were out in Colorado, months ago at the first Forge Warrior weekend out there running the Spartan race, some things I didn't know were, what you had done in the military. So kind of share some of that, man. I mean, you're a badass leader, back then.
I like I said, had 2 combat tours. Both of them were about a year long, to the Southern Helmand province in Afghanistan. On my first tour, I did detainee operations and some other security details and things. So I've been around the world, traveled, seen a lot. I've done a lot, and for as far as some of the struggles and hurdles associated with that, for the longest time, the way that I was coping with some of those things was just you just kind of put your blinders on and you just make yourself task saturated, and just kind of like ignore things. And I did that for a really long time. I got my diagnosis for PTSD in 2010, but even after that, I was able to re-enlist and deploy a second time. But my choice in coping patterns were mostly, being task saturated, and what I perceived to be drive and motivation, and success was to ignore other things. So yeah, I mean, I've been through the gauntlet. Lost some friends. not a whole lot of good things that come from combat experience, but
but you did what you had to do, and big respect and appreciation and gratitude for everything you've done for this country, for all the sacrifices you've made. My sister's in the military, and I know it's not everybody's willing to do that, man. So my respect and appreciation, like I said, goes out to you, brother. So you are the real warrior, one of the real legit warriors out there, right? So, but yeah, man. With that, I mean, we came into the Forged Warrior, a different dude. Like, you've changed since being in. What are some of the big wins, and what are the results that you've experienced through being with the Forged Warrior?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and you kind of touched on this, but obviously on the front end, I mean, the first thing that people think about or associate to training is they're actually your secondary effects, but the way your body looks, and even your performance too. Those are both great things, but that's only a very small part of what's really going on when you're engaged in a program like this. For me, I think the biggest hurdle was definitely mindset and accountability. That idea that you have to have drive and motivation as opposed to desire and discipline. So one of the biggest things was being reminded or taught to dig down deep and really discover, what it is that drives you, or what your purpose is, your reason for doing things. And I think over the last 10 years for me, I forgot. It was easy to forget. I became a part of the machine, the institution, and kind of lost myself. And that happens to a lot of people. You forget, the reason why you're doing the things you do. It's very easy to get into a systematic way of doing things and kind of get the reason behind it, even through your success. So that was probably the biggest thing for me was remembering why, what my purpose is for being here and doing the things I do. Finding that, and then having the support, the community. That's the second thing for me. Again, coming from a military background, community is great. You want to find a tighter group of people. You eat together, you sleep together, you train together, you fight together, you do everything together with your family. And once you leave that, it's kind of like culture shock. You go back to the civilian sector, and it's just a different world. And so you lose that sense of community. And get yourself out on that proverbial island. So having the brotherhood, having you and the rest of the team and everybody around all the time, checking in on you, encouraging you, sharing their stories and their experiences, sharing perspective, all that helps foster and create accountability. And that was the second biggest thing. The mindset and the accountability or community, rather, has been phenomenal. It's been life-changing.
Yeah, just to know that there's other guys out there going through the same struggles that you're going through, or going through other struggles. It's good to connect with those guys, because we're all battling on different fronts, right? And so just having that camaraderie, having that accountability, it's so critical. I have conversations with guys every single day that they want to continue to deny that they need that help. And to deny that is basically denying their future success. We can continue to dig ourselves into deeper holes and continue to kind of deny, the fact that we do need help. It's just that big ego inside our minds that are just like, nah, you got this. Like, if it's up to me, it's up to me, yada, yada, yada. And yeah, in one sense, it is up to us to actually put in the work, but there's nothing wrong with finding, the right type of guys to surround ourselves with. Right. And so, it's huge. And I know you being a part of the brotherhood, you've brought so much value and insight from your side of things into the group. And in turn, the other guys have brought their value, their insight into, you know, your world as well. And you mix all that up, it's, you know, a formula for, you know, success. Right. And so it's been great having you a part of it. And another thing that you mentioned is basically just getting so dialed in on what it is you're trying to accomplish that we almost become blind to everything else that's happening, and that we lose sight of what the main purpose of, you know, everything is for. And so we get so caught up in like work or training or whatever it is that we lose sight of the actual purpose of why we're doing that stuff. Right. And so it's important to, you know, stop every now and then, reflect on what's actually going on. And it's about that connection, man, that connection, that human connection, and, you know, being able to relate. And I think, you know, the brotherhood has definitely, you know, been there for you in that sense, man. I know in the middle there was a little bit of a rough spot, and that's where I have the most respect for you is, you know, 9 out of 10 guys, they get to that point, they quit. It's just how it goes. And, you know, the one out of 10, man, the 1 out of 10, that's a true warrior. They fucking stand up and they keep moving forward. Right. So like, I mean, this journey hasn't been easy. So you want to chat about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, you know, it's, like I said, had a lot of hurdles to overcome and things that were compounding between the mindset, the lack of community. And I'd gotten so used to being a lone wolf. And, you know, as far as training goes, I had physical injuries too that I was overcoming, my shoulder and my back and stuff. And, yeah, we, you know, I think I started right around the same time as PD, which is funny. We always joke about that because he finished way before I did. It's a 12-week, 13-week program. But the idea behind it is forever. And it took me a long time to really embrace that thought process, which is funny because it was supposed to be 12 or 13 weeks and I'm almost a year in and just barely finished my first round. So yeah, I you know, I picked it up. I started feeling a little bit more motivated, and I started relying on that motivation and started using it as a crutch. At the second that I started struggling again, I just kind of fell apart. You know, I quit. I disappeared. I ghosted on you guys, and I got my call out, and you know, I was at a point in my life where what kept me going was that on the front end, the communication about the reason behind what I'm doing and why to do it, and that gave me the drive, the desire, rather, to continue on. It kind of was like, okay, well, you got two choices. You either accept that this is as good as it gets, you know, then there really is, you know, then what's the why? If you throw in the towel and spend the rest of your life just staying where you're at, never going to change. So either you really want it or you really don't. And yeah, so I mean, at that point, I think it was like November, December timeframe, and I hurt my back or aggravated a pre-existing injury and just ghosted. And I didn't even tell anybody, didn't say anything. I got kicked out for a little bit, and I had to fight my way back in and you know, get a reset, get back at it, and focus on the things I could do, not the things I couldn't do. And the whole idea of embracing your journey and you know, getting to where you're going in life. Life is a journey. And it's a lifelong journey. It doesn't happen overnight. So, you know, yeah, that was definitely having the guys there made the world of difference. I mean, you know, I've connected with a lot of guys in the group, but specifically, I've always had Shane, Rich, and Petey. You know, always got my six, making time for me, calling me, texting me, emails back and forth. You know, these guys are like family. You know, that's definitely was the focal point of my success has been the community. So yeah, but there were some challenges along the way. The back, you know, I aggravated my shoulder and things like that. But you know, that mindset really prevents you from continuing on driving.
Yeah, big lessons learned. Like, it's not always going to be like society paints it. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be instant gratification, just do this and everything's going to work out perfectly. Like, there are going to be bumps in the road. You're going to be tested. And that's really where your inner warrior, so to speak, really needs to come out and battle that shit. Right. And so you've done an amazing job at doing that. I mean, I remember, yeah, you got kicked out, man. And, we don't mess around here. I mean, it's just like, it's for men that are truly committed, that are wanting to continue to put in the work and fight through the hard shit. And, I'll be the first to say that it is going to be hard, man. Like, I'm not sitting over here like, yeah, come on in. It's going to be, unicorns and rainbows the whole way through, brother. And, but that's essentially what makes us who we are today. We battle through that stuff. You're only that much stronger, that much more resilient, and more knowledgeable, like the wisdom that you gain along the way, right? And so what are some of the big lessons that you've pulled away with thus far? Just like you mentioned, it's, we've gotten through phase one. Now we're recollecting, we're reassessing, and we're basically planning out the next moves like we met the other day. Boom, we'll be moving on to phase two, which I'm excited about. But with like everything we've gone through thus far, what are the big lessons that you've taken away?
There's so many. I mean, we could do this for hours probably.
Yeah.
But I think for me personally, aside from the community and stuff like that, the personal lessons that I've learned is how great a tool perspective is, and how your mind is either going to make you or break you at the end of the day. So you learn to change your perspective on how you view things, like simple things like failure, for example. For the longest time, that was one of the biggest things. Was like when I hurt my back, one reason why I just kind of gave up was, in my mind, I'm like, I can't even do this. I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
And it's not about can't. It's just about the fact that that's life. You're going to fail. The master has failed more times than the students ever tried. It's perceiving your failure as fuel as opposed to a limiting factor. Mind is the limiting factor at the end of the day, and that's one of the biggest lessons for me. It's kind of like, so what? Brush yourself off and get after it again, and keep working towards your goals. So that's been one of the biggest things. There's so many.
I'll say this, like, just knowing you and seeing how you've changed, kind of on that line where the old you would just boom, boom, boom. Just, I'm going to go through this fucking brick wall. I don't care. Like, that's what it's going to take. And if it took like hurting yourself or whatever, I remember when you came in the gym, I think that's really where the turning point came. Like, you're like, I'm a little injured, but I'm going to hit this shit anyways and just fight through the pain. And, you had a big turning point then. You're like, all right, I keep getting injured. Like, what's the deal here? And instead of just continuing to push through, or what most guys do is just like, well, this keeps happening. It's just not meant to, it's not meant to be. I'm just going to keep getting injured, yada, yada, yada. You start running those stories inside your head to justify, the position that you're in. You can do that and you can settle and you can, go back into the pit, or you can choose to learn from that shit and be like, well, why is it I keep getting injured? How can I fix this situation? How can I get around this barrier? And that was, for me, as your coach, that's where I saw a big turning point. You're like, I need to focus more on the mobility that you always have talked about, and, the form and technique, not so much the weight. Let's dial that shit down. Let's start moving better. And holy shit, like, we've gotten ourselves to the point where now we're training with, fairly pain-free. We're coming back from those injuries and we're only making ourselves that much better. Yeah, it's going to take a hell of a lot more time, but what would you rather have? Like, being completely run down, shot, and, how old are you right now? Where are you at now?
30.
30. Yeah. So imagine how it's going to be at 40. if we were to continue to go down that path, like you probably wouldn't even be, walking normal. Right. And so now that we've learned that, I guarantee you, we stay on this path at 40, you're going to feel better at 40 than you did in your late 20s and 30s, man. So
absolutely. That was one of those mindsets that you get trained to
yep.
Is just drive.
Yeah.
One of speaking on the stuff you're talking about, the focus on recovering as hard as you train is important. But in your youth, you don't think about things like that because you back so easily. But yeah, focusing on mobility and recovery, fuel too. How the stuff you're putting in your body is going to change how well you recover from things. Stuff like that. So absolutely, that was definitely.
Have you started the yoga yet?
Not yet. That starts after vacation. I get back on the 10th of September.
Yep. So you're going through kind of a middle phase. So yeah, recovery. We're letting that central nervous system fully recover, and then boom, we're going to hit phase 2. And really what we had to do with you, kind of going off the coaching call that we did to reassess where we're at, basically we need to let that metabolism recover a little bit. We got to rebuild that metabolism, get the hormones, optimized. And that's going to put us in a position where now we can start to focus in on the physique goals, right? More so, that's like our next step is we're going to focus in on getting as lean as we want to be. And then we'll start to build up from there, where most guys, they don't understand how that actually works. And so they're just like, the typical response is, I want to get stronger, I want to get bigger, and I want to get leaner all at once, right? And that only fuck recovery. Like if you're taking rest days, you're being lazy, right? So that's the common type of mindset, which I used to be there too, So it's all just a big learning process, man. So, but yeah, dude, you've been through an awesome journey thus far. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but dude, you're a better man for it, right? And I know some of your big whys. Like, what are some of the big whys for you? Like your main purpose is like, what's the main source of your fuel, man?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I had to figure that out. Like I said, that my military career came to an abrupt end unexpectedly, and I had a choice to make. You can slip through the cracks. You can avoid getting the help you need and stuff like that. They'll let you stay on board as long as you're not hurting anybody or completely useless, right? So, but there was a point where I had to decide what was the most important thing to me, and why am I here? Why am I doing the things I do every day? And for me, it was my son, it was my family. Before, one of the reasons why I had ignored my health and things like that was because I didn't really have a reason. I lost my reason along the way with those 10 years that I had served. But once I got married and pregnant, I started to realize, okay, I'm going to be a father, and what kind of lessons do I want to teach my son? What kind of future do I want for my child? Because it's not just about the things I say to him. It's going to be more about the example I set through the things that I do.
Yep.
What do I do whenever I fail? What do I do whenever life gets hard, or when I feel like I can't do something? Those are the things he's going to pick up on, and that for me was the biggest part of my why. So that kind of was a huge turning point for me when I really sat down and just dug deep. And when you dig deep and you think you got it, you dig deeper, you dig more, and you just keep going inside and searching yourself and trying to figure out, what is it really that you want out of life? Not necessarily in a tangible sense, but the relationships you have with people, what you're leaving behind. Life's about the experience, less about the things that you obtain along the way. So, but yeah, that was definitely a turning point for me, being able to establish that.
Heck yeah.
And your why, your reason and your purpose, your why keeps you centered and keeps you focused, because like I said, you lose it along the way, and then you just become part of the system, and you forget, and it kills your discipline. So that's why I like the DR3 when you posted up the do, reflect, what was it, do, reflect, refine, redo. That is, I love that, because if you don't reflect and you don't check in with yourself, that's the easiest way to forget why you do things.
Yep.
Something you got to continuously do along the way. So that's been huge for me.
Yeah, it's been huge. It's been huge for me as well, man, for everybody. Heck yeah, dude. Well, the journey has definitely been a good one thus far, and I'm excited to see where it takes you next, man. So, but you got anything that you any key lessons or anything else that you want to share before we cut this thing off?
I mean, that pretty much covers it. I think at the end of the day, you just got to remember. I think what people get used to doing is they're always looking for that one thing that's going to change their life. And that cause you to. I mean, you go on meds, you go into programs, you pay for this, you pay for that. If that's what's driving you to do something, you're already lost. When you get to the place where that one thing is going to work, you still have to do the work. You still have to, it's sweat and tears every day. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It gives you the life worth living. So
Absolutely, man.
For people out there that are, I'm going to check this out, I'm going to kind of adapt a bit, you got to fully commit, and you got to fully embrace it, understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. But
Yeah, buddy. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. It is the forever project, man. It doesn't end, right? But it'll never begin unless you actually start, right? So it's been a crazy ride, brother. So keep pushing ahead, man. Keep pushing ahead, staying on course. We'll continue to course correct as we go down the path, man. That's really what it's about. So yeah, we'll go ahead and cut it off, man. I appreciate your time. Again, huge respect goes out to you, gratitude, appreciation, everything that you've done, and for the things that you'll do moving ahead, man. And really, for anybody that might be watching this, this show, and you're still paying attention, and it's kind of resonating with you, I would invite you to take the next step forward and, give the Forge Warrior a look. And basically what that entails is applying for the program, going through the steps there. So you apply, and then you'd basically set up a coaching call with myself. And on that coaching call, it's just about getting down to the truth, getting down to the facts. Like, where are you right now? Where is it that you're trying to get to? What's holding you back? And essentially we'll figure out if the Forge Warrior is a good fit for you. And from there, we basically take the steps forward. But this is not for the guys that are looking for a quick fix, as you might have already taken in. Like, it is not a quick fix. Like, it's going to take time. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be twists and turns. But if you're sick and tired of trying this shit on your own, and you want a community of dudes, men, fathers, husbands, sons, men that are doing everything they can to become better men, not just to look good, not to just, have a lean physique or whatever. Like, yeah, that's a byproduct of what we do, but essentially becoming a better man from the inside out. And if that's you're still watching this thing, I invite you to apply for the program. That's the first step. We'll go from there. And who knows, maybe you'll be sitting in, Bryant's seat down the road talking about your story, so, but you got to be willing to step up and start. So, but other than that, man, thank you again. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to this next month. We got a nice little challenge in place for you guys to mix things up. So that'll be fun to do. But yeah, other than that, man, we are good. So thanks again, Bryant.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, Coach.
All righty, brother. Later.